Welcome all to the Tales of Tyria. Welcome all to the Tales of Tyria.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Tales of Tyria is back here. It's been a while, but we got a lot of great stuff to talk to you about today. We're going to recap the Wintersday stuff, talk about the future, some links, some table scraps this week. Stay tuned. Yes, welcome one, welcome all, welcome to another exciting episode of Tales of Tyria right here. I am Bridger, I'll be your host for this evening, and we have a great show for you today. Glad you got a hold of the program, however you may have found it. Tell a friend or two or three or four, won't you? We are almost live from the amazing great free city of Lion's Arch. The Cloud Skimmer Tavern is where we host our little event here. We're glad you guys showed up, and I know it's been a while since we've been here, so it's good to see some people remembered and managed to pop into the chat to join both myself and Freelancer. Welcome, sir.
Hey, how's it going, guys? It's been a crazy couple of weeks, hasn't it?
Yeah, I do have to apologize. I know that a lot of people were looking forward to our show. Let's see, back in December, we had planned on doing one. I think it was on the 16th or the 23rd, somewhere around that range, and I came down. No, it was the 23rd, because I had a fever on the 24th, Christmas Eve. I had a fever all day. My bones were aching. All I wanted to do is distract myself, but sitting upright in a computer chair was too painful. So I had to just lounge, like lay down on the couch and watch Babylon 5 all day. And it was the best I could do.
Oh, that's such a harsh life.
It was still painful, but still.
You know, you could have made it better, though, if you watched Firefly. You know, that
yeah,
would
I just recently
made the recovery
did watch
go a little
Firefly.
faster.
Yeah.
So
I haven't seen Babylon 5 in a very long time. I watched Firefly just recently, so I figured it was time to get back into it. All right, so enough of that. Obviously, it's just Freelancer and I today. As we mentioned on the previous show, we're going to be looking for some new co-hosts to help us out, and I've actually set aside this week to work on that. So I do have a backlog of people that I did get your emails. I've been reading through them and cataloging them. I'll be sending out an email to everybody interested this week, trying to get some people on Skype to have a bit of an interview and see if we can get any more co-hosts that'll be able to come on the show and talk to us about Guild Wars 2. So we'll see about that. If you are interested, feedback at talesoftyria.com is how you can get a hold of us, either with your interest in a co-host position or if you are interested in sending us some topics or stories or anything like that. All right, so that having been said, let's talk about Storytime this week. This is actually a bit of an email I got from someone named Professor Enzo. It's kind of a story, but more like a rumor/speculation with a very interesting M. Night Shyamalan twist at the end, so I thought I'd share it with everybody. Here we go. Quote, "You and everyone else has been talking about how nothing ever happens at South Sun Cove, and no one ever goes there except for the orichalcum node. It's always kind of bugged me since there's this whole island and a whole consortium business, and I don't think that I'm alone in feeling that there were a lot of loose ends after that event. I can't have been the only one who doesn't think the consortium is on the up and up. My theory has always been that there's more story to come. This is part of a story arc, and we're just seeing the first chapter, or maybe just the introduction. Other than a general feeling of uneasiness about the consortium, I've never had anything else to go on, until I was looking through the forums and came across a dev post by Matthew Medina, the content designer. The initial question was, why aren't there any risen/undead Karka? Matthew points out that the Lost Shores was after the Zhaitan chronologically, so that's one reason. Another is the fact that the ocean is large enough that Zhaitan and the Karka may never have crossed paths. To me, the most interesting part was at the end of the post, where he said, quote, "The Karka are an old species, so they have encountered elder dragons and their minions before, and they're certainly smart enough to understand the threat they represent." unquote. Now, the Karka are an ancient race, at least as old as the Elder Dragons, and intelligence as well. I hereby predict not just a continuation of the story, but that the Karka end up being the good guys, the consortium the villains, and that we as players will switch sides, unquote. Dun dun dun.
Conspiracy theories.
I know, right? Thank you, Professor Enzo, for that very interesting conspiracy theory. I think that's actually not necessarily a bad concept as far as conspiracy theories go. It sounds like it fits together pretty well.
Yeah, well, the consortium and everything to do with fractals and such, they have a lot they can play off of with their storyline. Is what I'm getting at, and it's they can kind of twist it any which way they want. But then you got to think about future expansions and stuff. So hey, who knows? You know, they could make a big storyline off of that.
Fishy Seabass in the chat says, "No, I hate the Karka. I don't want to be on their team."
I didn't think all that super special. I mean, it just seemed like these giant spider crustacean creatures. But you know, I don't know. That's just me. I'm not the big PvEer though. I mean, I went to that little area in was it Ciosaurus, and did what I needed to do on the monthly there and left. They had an awesome jumping puzzle there, though. I'll tell you that.
That's true. That was a very difficult one. And to be honest, I think the Karka suffered from being the focus of attention for too long. Because if you just come across them and fight them for an hour or so, it's pretty cool. Especially the first time they roll over an entire Zerg and crush them. Just watching that happen or being a part of that was really cool. But if you just fight them over and over again, you know, just like anything else, it's going to get pretty boring. But.
They, in general, though, they were unique. Like the Broodlord Karka or whatever, the ones that spawned the eggs, that was, you know, it's a different kind of mob. It added something new. I mean, they had the giant ones, and then they had the smaller ones, and in the final battle, they mixed it, so you actually really had to focus on certain ones, otherwise you'd be overwhelmed. I thought it was pretty neat. I think they should do more things like that. They should make the AI for certain regular mobs like far more advanced than just, you know, the smash and, you know, tank and spank type mobs that we see all over the rest of the game. It was a lot of good times there.
Yeah. So I agree with Professor Enzo, though. Whatever happens, I'm pretty sure we're going to see more things happening at South Sun Cove, especially since it's an island separate from the rest of the Zaitan story. So if you do anything interesting on that island, you don't have to worry about messing up a new player's experience as they're coming through the game and playing through, you know, the Lion's Arch battle and the Claw Island and all those other parts of the story. If you radically changed any of those starting zones that we're also familiar with, it would also kind of mess with the main story of a new player leveling from 1 to 80. But this island is a place that you can mess with because there's nothing happening there that has to do with that main story. So I think they're definitely going to, they have a lot of potential of what they could be doing there, advancing this Karka story or any other story.
They're going to do something because right now, what's the point of going there? You know, it's like almost nothing. So, well, it is a good place to farm tier 6 materials. I'll give you that. You know, orichalcum and such, but they're going to have to throw some sort of spin on it because right now it's just kind of a dormant island that players just go there to farm. We'll see.
All right, so we've also got a bit of feedback this week from Calvin, and Calvin writes, "Hey, good show, by the way, and I, for one, look forward to the next episode soon." Well, thanks, Calvin. He says, quote, "I was wondering if you guys ever wanted any of the Elder Scrolls Online videos. There was a video about their PvP wars, and I thought it would be cool if it was incorporated with Guild Wars 2. They were talking about how farmlands and towns surrounding the keep supply food, and if the food runs out, the people inside the keep will be forced to face their enemies, which is one of the major components of sieging a keep. This would help break up Zergs in Guild Wars 2, since they will actually have to break up into smaller groups and incorporate defense into world versus world. Thank you, Calvin."
Can I answer this one?
All right. I know you've been looking into Elder Scrolls Online a lot.
Can I give them the secret info, Bridger? Can I tell them a little about what we plan on doing?
I don't know. I mean, the secret info has been kept secret for so long that... Okay, you can tell.
Okay, well, we're not certain yet, guys, but I gotta admit that myself, Bridger, by the way, is the biggest skeptic you guys will ever meet, which is a good thing because
I've been burned too many times, Free.
Yeah,
burned too
and
many times.
well, we both have. We both have. I mean, come on, Aeon. Did you even try Aeon? Yeah, I was burned
I
there,
didn't
but
get excited about Aeon, so I didn't get burned by it. Luckily.
oh, okay, all right. So we won't go into RuneScape and all that, but all right. So MMOs in general, we were looking, and this is of course Team Legacy. Myself, Bridger, we're in Team Legacy, and the whole guild is just really big about strategic, open world combat, and obviously this podcast you guys enjoy. We just love sharing information like that. That's kind of our forte. Well, the next MMO that we can see on the horizon that involves world PvP is Elder Scrolls Online. So, of course, we went and looked at it. I spent a lot of time looking at it because obviously I kind of run Team Legacy, and it's, Guild Wars 2 isn't going to be there forever as much as we'd like to all hope it will be. Or maybe it will, Bridger. I mean, maybe it will, but we'll see. I mean, as it stands now, World PvP in Guild Wars 2 is pretty much a dead subject. On that note, though, just before I go further, they are releasing a big patch in February, and we will be talking about that on Tales of Tyria regarding changing World PvP. So you can expect me and Bridger and hopefully a couple new co-hosts, right?
Yeah.
To talk all about that big February update. But moving on, Elder Scrolls is probably going to be the next big MMO people talk about World PvP, with. Me and Bridger are both looking at possibly creating a podcast that doesn't necessarily cover Elder Scrolls Online, but covers any strategic game in general. Like, I don't think, Bridger, did you really think of any rough names for it yet? I don't think we did.
No, we don't got a name for it yet. Naming is very important.
Yeah.
It has to take time.
So here's the idea. All right, you guys, you love Bridger rants. You love the analytical breakdown. You love the bickering me and Bridger do, and then all the other co-hosts as well. You guys love Kai Dream. You guys love Edwin and all the other guys. We plan on making a podcast that instead of just being centralized to Guild Wars 2, we talk about any major MMO through different episodes, or really any big game release in general.
I think we're going to wind up talking about all games as a general rule on sort of a general gaming podcast. We're each going to have our own forte and things that we have sort of strengths, but we're going to try to make sort of a our version of a general gaming podcast. There's 1,000 general gaming podcasts out there. You pick the one where with the personalities and people that have similar views to you. So maybe we'll make one that appeals to certain people.
Right. And see, what makes it different is we're looking at a lot of the big podcasts out there now, like the Total Biscuit, and you guys all know what I'm talking about, all the really big gaming podcasts, and we're
IGN has a podcast, 1UP has a podcast, GameSpot has a podcast. Everybody's got a podcast.
So the question, what we're breaking down right now before we really make it official is what will make ours different. And we want to, like with Tales of Tyria, there's Guildcast. Guildcast is a great podcast. They do it a certain way. With Tales of Tyria, we approached it, how do we make Tales of Tyria different than Guildcast? And I think a lot of you guys know what makes it different. So we're looking to do the same thing with this podcast. So Elder Scrolls will obviously be a big part of that. I can say for certain that Bridger, myself, and pretty much TL in general will be playing Elder Scrolls Online, but we're not going to give up on Guild Wars 2. I wanted to say that officially because I have a lot of hope for the February update. And I'm not going to say it's going to revitalize Guild Wars 2 to where World v. World is all fixed and perfect, but we're going to stay positive about it. And besides World v. World, let's all be frank here. Guild Wars 2 has the best PvE out there. And I dare say that Elder Scrolls may or may not beat that. So we're all still going to be playing Guild Wars 2. We're still going to be talking about it for months to years on end, I'm sure. But there is a side of many of us watching this podcast, including myself and Bridger and everybody involved with TL.
Now, hang on a second. Streitzel says that ESO is a WoW copy-paste. If anything, it's a Guild Wars 2 copy-paste from what I've heard about. Let's jump back to the question.
We'll talk about that another episode.
Let's jump back to the question, because Calvin, the original thing that we started this whole rant on is that
Bridger started now.
Calvin was asking about incorporating some of the things that Elder Scrolls is doing in their World versus World into Guild Wars 2. So, Freelancer, what do you know about? He's talking about, for example, there's supply in the towns and stuff surrounding the keeps, and that you can siege it by cutting off supply.
There's a lot of they're kind of playing around with a lot of mechanics in terms of World PvP. They haven't released any set info on that. What we do know with World PvP with ESO, and the reason why I brought it up, and the reason why me and Bridge are looking at it so closely, is there is siege warfare, there is castles, there is up to 200 players shown on a screen at a time. So that general feel of World PvP that you get from Guild Wars 2 is there. I don't want to give details or anything like that until we know for certain, how the mechanics work, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, Bridger, in the future. But that World PvP sense is there, and yes, there are other MMOs, but no other MMOs going into the polish that ESO is. So this is a Guild Wars 2 podcast. The point is, when somebody says it's a Guild Wars 2 copy paste or WoW copy paste, they are taking a lot of things from Guild Wars 2, like the cross class combos.
Mm-hmm.
They are taking a lot of things from WoW, like the PvE side of things. But I mean, let's be frank, Bridger. I mean, did Guild Wars 2 take anything from WoW? Do you think?
Well, yeah, you got a fantasy environment. Yeah. You've got the general their own spin on the trait system, but people still gain stuff as they're leveling up. I mean, it doesn't feel like they didn't take a lot of the systems and copy paste them. It almost feels like a lot of times they tried to avoid those systems on purpose.
Yeah. So we'll be getting in more into that when we discuss how we want to do this next more general podcast. We're going to be advertising it a lot more than Tales of Tyria as well, so we should be getting some really great coverage of things. Just kind of ending on that note, somebody said in chat, Bridger, are you going to be covering Company of Heroes again?
Well, that entirely depends on how good Company of Heroes 2 is. I've kind of shut the door on Company of Heroes 1. It was a fantastic game, and I covered it for, 2006 to 2008, and then again in 2010 for another season of Tales of Heroes. So I have had a ton of fun with that game and a lot of great memories. But I'm not going to. I might go back and play it every once in a while, but I'm not into it enough to be able to coherently talk about it. However, if Company of Heroes 2 comes around the corner, and the beta, I think, is supposed to be starting sometime before the end of January, which I should be able to get into, we will see what we will see. If it is an open beta, I'll definitely try to stream some stuff there and talk about it as we're playing it. If it's a closed beta and there's a non-disclosure on it, then we'll just have to see what we'll see. But yes, anyway, getting back to Calvin's question, he kind of puts the question out there of sieging the castles and forcing the Zerg to split up in order to defend these secondary objectives around a keep or a tower. And that sounds actually like it's going to work really well in Elder Scrolls. I actually, last week on Tales of Araxis, suggested a very similar thing for PlanetSide 2, forcing the fight to, so if your side is attacking a point and can't take it, you take the areas around it, and that causes some detrimental effect on the main target of your attack, and that forces Zergs to respond to you by moving out to these outer areas, and then spreads out the fight to more than one location. So instead of having one giant cluster that has too many people on screen where you can't even see what's going on, you have 3 large battles that are all controllable. And that's the idea. The problem is, unfortunately, I don't think the maps in Guild Wars 2 are big enough to really cause that meta to work with a system.
I think that's the biggest thing between Guild Wars 2, the way that we play World PvP and Elder Scrolls or PlanetSide, is Elder Scrolls and PlanetSide are going with this idea of one giant map. PlanetSide 2, how you could walk from one corner of the map to the opposite side, and you'll enter different kind of zones, but you don't really realize it, where different parts of the different servers are controlling different parts of the map. In Guild Wars 2, you have different zones. You have the Eternal Battlegrounds, and then you have all these other maps being controlled by their own connection and therefore their own limits. Elder Scrolls, probably the biggest thing that'll be changed there is it's one server. Like when you log in or when you go to create your character in Elder Scrolls, I think Guild Wars 2 might have it beat in this aspect, but in Elder Scrolls you only log into the US server or the EU server. It's a super server. We'll see how it works, but in Guild Wars, in Guild Wars 2, you have different servers, so you can have competition and join certain better servers or more casual like RP servers. I don't know. We'll see how that works, but even in Guild Wars 2, going on point what you were saying, Bridger. I mean, supply camps and towers, don't they sort of provide that secondary goal that you just can't ignore with keeps? I mean,
Yeah,
is it really?
they do to some extent. I wonder if I've been trying to think of something like if you starve a castle or keep or something for supply, if you actually were able to siege it, if they put into some system where that would actually cause some detrimental effect. Back when siege weapons really did a lot more damage, like when ballistas fired and hit like 30 people, it was actually feasible to starve a castle or a keep. You couldn't just go in and bust down the door, because if there were 4 ballistas back there, it would destroy your entire Zerg. So you'd have to do a lot of damage to the walls and attack multiple locations and force your way in from multiple directions and prevent them. I mean, the Battle of Dreaming Bay, the famous Battle of Dreaming Bay back in the first beta weekend, the reason that was so epic and exhausting is because we had this whole siege going on where we would stop their supply coming in, and we would make sure that we to destroy their supply camps and make sure that while we were destroying their siege, we were destroying their walls, they were running out of supply the entire time. And only once they fully ran out of supply were we able to easily go in and fight them. So
Yeah.
it feels
I
like
think
that's been taken away.
Well, that's something we still do. It drives me nuts how the meta game and World v World has changed. Even in our server that we're on now, Isle of Janthier, we siege in that same manner. When we assault Dreaming Bay or another keep, it's a battle of attrition. We form fronts, we form flank parties, we form scouts going on all the cardinal directions. Those scouts let us know of incoming Zergs. Those scouts let us know of enemy movement, and we break down the supply over time. We never engage a keep that has even 50 supply in it. We always make sure it's 0 supply. We wear down multiple walls or doors, then we move in, and that's how we enjoy playing the game. What we see from a lot of guilds and with the way things have sort of evolved now is players will kind of skirmish, between towers and camps, get up a bunch of supply, then build a ton of siege golems and try to ninja a keep. And they'll ninja this keep that has like Stone Mist, that has 2,000 supply in it. Now, yeah, sometimes they're going to be successful, but nowhere throughout history has, I mean, except maybe the Trojan horse, but nowhere throughout history has ninja, a keep or a castle ever been a valid or smart tactic.
I can see it right now. Charlemagne talking to his advisors, and they say, "My lord, the Gauls have the keep very well stocked. We'll never be able to make in. It's okay. We'll ninja it." Sir, I don't think we have any Japanese mercenaries that we can bring to bear on the walls.
And you can't climb the wall, so I mean, but yeah, you will see like in the U.S. servers, and I know in the European servers, somebody says in chat Europe's different, because yes, I know, I watched a lot of the streams over there. It's a whole different mentality, and Bridger explained this to me. I don't know why it is like this, but in U.S. servers, people go for the quick victory. They'll wait for the enemy to be on a different part of the map, and then they'll rush in with 5 superior rams and try to bust down the door really quick in a fully upgraded tower. And there's, sometimes they're successful and sometimes they completely flunk it. But that's the way that it's done most of the time. Whereas in the European servers, you watch a lot of their streams, a lot of the big guilds over there, it's always in a battle of attrition. We're talking trebs on both sides, constantly flailing catapults, and one side only moves into the other side when there's a secure entry in. And we do that in TL, and there are very, very few guilds on different servers that do that. Why do you think the mentality of U.S. guilds in general is going in for that siege golem ninja or 5 ram when they're not paying attention? I mean, why is that? I don't get it.
It might have to do with the kind of it can be a little boring to do those long drawn out sieges if you're just
epic,
a grunt.
though. You can't.
No, I know it is, but follow me, the ADD mindset is, we've been, hammering at this keep for like a half hour. Nothing's changed. They just keep repairing the door. Let's go somewhere else where they're not at. I mean, that's kind of what happens in PlanetSide, right? I mean, you look at PlanetSide 2, there's 3 continents. Each continent has like 50% of the population is one faction, and each faction is basically chosen. Okay, all of the TR are on Indar, all of the NC are on Esamir, and all of the VS are on Amerish. And nobody wants to fight each other. It's just way better to fight a very small number of your enemy as a giant Zerg and roll over them. People just want to do that because it feels more accomplishing, I guess. Like they feel more accomplished. I don't know. We're running on a major tangent here. We haven't been here in like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. We got to talk.
No, that irks me every time I log on, Bridger, because I think the problem with World v World is that there's no spirit in World v World. Does that make any sense? It's basically people go in to get the quick win, and if they don't get the quick win or they start losing, they bail out. How many people in the chat channel or watching this show can nod their head and say, yeah, you know those people? Because they come into the map, the second they're wiped once or twice, they leave. It's not, hey, let's hunker down for server glory at this tower. It's let's try to take this keep with 10 golems. If it doesn't work, then we're going to give up. And speaking of ninjaing, a couple people might argue, well, it's a valid tactic. Yes, it's a valid tactic, but only in lower tiers. In upper tiers, or if you move to a higher competitive environment, such as the EU servers, you're going to run into, no matter what keep you're assaulting, no matter what tower you're assaulting, there's always going to be scouts there. The idea of ninjaing keeps in American servers is that you get there and you pop the golems on the doors and you rush in before they notice what's going on. Well, that works because nobody actually has scouts. Scouts? What scouts? They all run around in massive groups and they don't assign little dedicated, flank parties. But here's the thing: if your siege rush fails or your golem rush fails, with all of that supply in their keep, when you go to reinforce it or maintain the attack, oh, there's an idea, let's attack again. They will have already rebuilt everything. And that's throughout history. I mean, siege warfare, the idea of sieging an enemy, is so that you can whittle down their resources, whether it's food, whether it's just their walls, period. I mean, just in general, you break down not only their physical stature, but their morale. Imagine yourself on the opposite side of a wall in a server, or let's say in a real fighting scenario throughout the Roman times, for example. If you're on that receiving end, all right, not only is now your family starving and everything else through this siege, I mean, let's be frank here. I mean, who said
Freelancer couldn't role play?
Well, we're talking real serious real life, right? But not only are you dealing with the repercussions, and this is what I really hope Elder Scrolls takes for granted, or in the February patch, maybe they change, but there is not only the physical lack of supply and we can't build siege weapons and we can't do this, but there's a mental aspect to seeing trebuchet fire landing all around you and the enemy fortifying themselves on the border, and it's a different experience that I think certain players can enjoy, but nobody really gives it a chance. It's I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it's something that I would like to see more players do, and maybe ArenaNet really grasp the idea of siege warfare, maybe by reducing supply for siege weapons, maybe by increasing the drawback of losing all of your supply camps around a border, for example. But they got to bring back the idea of sieging, because right now what you have in World v World is who can ninja what points the fastest and who can form the largest Zerg. I don't know, Bridger, what if there was something crazy like the more players around you, you got like a slight debuff or something.
That's something that's crossed my mind a lot. It'd just be so against everything ArenaNet says they're trying to do, and it'd be so hard to avoid like people trolling with that. Like if somebody's attacking a castle or whatever, another group of like trolling guildies, just 10, 12 people that are just like, derp, I don't feel like doing anything tonight, let's go troll these guys, and they just stand next to you so that you get an extra 10 or 12 stacks of the debuff or whatever it is, and they don't help you, they just stand there hurting you. I mean, It's unfortunate that systems have to be designed with that in mind. You know, you can't
Yeah.
just get everybody in and say, okay, by clicking OK and joining World versus World, you agree that winning the game is the most important thing, instead of doing some douchebag thing.
Now, granted, the map we talked about the maps. I think that because the maps are so small, it sort of encourages this because you had like the massive Zerg guilds, just throwing like PRX and stuff like that, mass players. Okay, that's how they did what they did. They would go around from map to map and take keep to keep, and they had that massive Zerg that just pure force would overwhelm anybody, and the map was so small they were able to quickly go back and forth and defend things. I think one thing that ArenaNet can do to fix World v World or mass Zerging, that Elder Scrolls is already talking about doing. Granted, they're taking a lot of ideas from Guild Wars 2, is make the map so large to where if you mass Zerg a blob of 150 players or 80 players from point to point, you can't possibly run back to all the different points against an organized guild or force that has multiple smaller strike parties. See, right now in Guild Wars 2, let's say somebody takes the left keep on a map. Well, I can get everybody together and take that keep back, and then if I see another orange cross sword, I likely can get to that point in the map and wipe that completely out, because the map's so small. It's like an arena map. It's not really like a world. They make the maps larger, then that would sort of fix it. But
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Kind of put it in League of Legends terms. If you got 4 people in the bot lane, then you get
push
a
top.
free, or push top, or you get a free Baron, essentially, depending upon the point in the game. Because there's no way they can get up there in time to stop you if you can hit it hard and fast enough. So that actually kind of makes sense. I wonder if that's just as an experiment. If they put a debuff on every character in World versus World just for 1 week to test it, where everybody ran at like 66% normal speed, swiftness and everything else worked normally, but the base movement speed would be reduced by 1/3, and all movement bonuses are now based off of that new lower move speed, just to see what it did to the metagame, just to even maybe give something new going on. It would be really cool if they, like, each week in World versus World did something new to it. Like mutators in Unreal Tournament, like Left 4 Dead for a while was doing special mod, things where each week they'd have a brand new modded version of the game you could try. I mean, that would be really interesting. Like, just say, okay, the month of March is our World versus World experiment month. We're going to try a whole bunch of crazy stuff and see what's fun. And then, depending upon the feedback, they throw that into the main thing, and then they could do that once every 3 or 4 months. I don't know. That sounds like it could be a cool plan.
Whiskey says in chat, everybody would run at the same speed. Would it have an effect? Yes, it would, because the problem right now is a Zerg. The idea of a Zerg, and when you think of Zergs, is that they are a mass group of players that aren't exactly mobile because they're not organized, but the problem is you have guilds or really good commanders can actually get them to be really reactive. And a Zerg can run from the left side of a map in Guild Wars 2 to any point on the map within a minute, which is usually more than enough time to take out any little strike team that's trying to ninja a keep or a tower or hit a various point. By reducing that move speed, you essentially force that Zerg to be more aware of their surroundings and send people ahead of time.
Or split. It basically forces the Zerg to split and be in more than one place at a time.
I still stand by what I said that last episode, though, Bridger. If they remove orange cross swords, fixes everything. I mean, because you are.
I'm scared.
I still think so, because you have to have scouts everywhere. You have to have defense forces, and only the more organized server that actually is using their communication will be able to effectively control the map. It's no longer going to be who can have the giant Zerg on the map. It's going to be who can be the most communicative with everybody on the map and organize and separate and assign defense squads here and there, because if you don't have that defense squad there, you're never going to know it's under attack. And I just think that'll sort of fix the Zerg mentality. All
right, so we've spent a lot of time on the feedback about stuff that wasn't even in the question, but let's jump on to the news real quick. We've got a couple of interesting things here. The first one I wanted to throw out there, Colin Johansson this is 2 days ago, gave a quick update. There was a lot of people getting some kind of, I guess, speculation that there was some kind of precursor scavenger hunt in the works. That may have been something they hinted at in the past, and people are thinking maybe that's some of the big stuff they're talking about that's coming up. He's explicitly said that they are not currently actively working on building any sort of legendary precursor scavenger hunt, but this is something that we want to do in the future, and we're in the midst of designing how it will function. But no one is actively building it, and you should not expect it in the January, February, March releases at this point. However, he says there are other systems currently being worked on, and we're expanding reward systems everywhere else to allow you to get precursors in other ways, rather than just throwing stuff into the Mystic Forge or hoping against hope for one of those special drops. So that's kind of nice. We'll see some new ways of getting precursors coming in the near future. There's also a really cool post I thought I'd direct you guys to. I'm not going to read through the whole thing because it does have quite a bit to it, but it's Guild Wars 2 Mythbusting Session 1 results. This is on Reddit. It has a lot of interesting things that you may not know about. For example, does condition damage affect Mesmer illusion? So if you're a Mesmer and you get stack condition damage and they do some kind of a bleed, for example, if you have an illusion that does bleeding damage with one of its attacks, does that use your condition damage? Turns out the answer is yes. So there's a lot of interesting questions in here.
Neat little build for you World v Worlders, because that's pretty much what everybody's doing now. If you get your bleed when your phantasms crit, very, very powerful, especially myself. Well, who isn't a great sword mesmer in World v World? But if you get that, if you do build condition damage and you get it where your berserker crits, it'll not only hit the entire group, but there's no cap on it. Little hidden info there for you. Berserkers will hit almost an unlimited amount of players as they spin through them, because every time they do that...
Well, at least they will until the next patch, now that Freelancer told everybody about it.
Well, it's been like that forever, but if every time they crit, if you're building high precision, they'll inflict bleed on everybody, which keeps that player in combat much longer. Plus, you cripple them, and yeah, it stacks up from there. But cool stuff. They tested a bunch of other things too on that Reddit thread, and I believe there's also a YouTube channel. I'll provide that and put it in the show notes for everybody. But where they actually have created a video of testing all these things as well, so it's pretty cool. Yeah,
very cool. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting things. What's best for math, damage, and remove condition combo? Who does that remove condition from? So definitely check that out. It's in the show notes. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can find it down there in the description. There's a link to the show notes. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you can find it talesoftyria.com. Look for episode number 60. That's got the show notes listed right there on that main episode post. So let's hop back in. There's one more thing to point out, that there's a website called GW2LFG.com that seems to be doing really well. So if you're tired of screaming in Lion's Arch looking for somebody to help you with a specific dungeon, this seems to be doing really well. It looks like they've got about, at this time of night on a Sunday, I'm seeing about 6 to... actually more like about 12 to 15 posts per minute of people on various servers all looking for a specific event. Actually, you can do dungeons from across different servers. I forgot you could do that.
Yep.
So you don't even need to be on the same server.
Great thing about this website, guys, is if you're looking to do your PvE or you just enjoy doing PvE, you can actually look on this website. You can see the player name, and it doesn't matter what server you're on. Well, it matters if you're US or EU, but even then, that's soon going to change. They're supposed to implement guesting soon. But let's say you're on a US server, you can actually invite this guy to your party. He doesn't have to be in your server. He doesn't have to be on your friends list or anything. You invite him to your party, and then you can right-click that person's name and say join in their instance or zone or whatever it is. So Fractals is a great example. You can go to this website, not have to spam chat, not have to wait for chat, or maybe you're on a server that just doesn't have a lot of people that are doing Fractals. You go to this website, you invite that person to your party, or he invites you, and then you can right-click his name and join him. And it has nothing to do with server, and you can just instantly get in a party like that. It's a great, great website. I recommend it to everybody. Heck, I'll tell you what I use it for. If you're hardcore, world PvP and such, like I am, and you're, oh my god, I gotta get my monthlies done real fast. You go to that site, and you don't have to wait to get party. You can actually just join real quick with a couple people, knock out all your fractal monthlies, knock out all your dungeon monthlies, and also have a good time doing it. Because
Yeah.
I've found that most people that use that site that I've run across are just genuinely awesome people, and you will likely find that a few of them you're going to click well with, and you'll next thing you know, they're on their friends list. And it's just, I wish that site happened like at the start of Guild Wars 2. It's a great site.
Yeah, it's also available on iPhone and Android as an app. So if you don't have two monitors and you're in the game, you don't want to Alt Tab or what have you, you can just pull up your phone and use that, I guess. All right, so next up, let's go to table scraps here, ladies and gentlemen. Table scraps is just this place where we don't go quite into the same depths. It's not something that we have as much to talk about when it comes to a round table episode. It's a smaller, more focused discussion. So this week we've got a couple of different things to talk about. This one is Confessions of a Magic Find Leech. And what he says is, I am a magic find leech. I don't expect this post will be very popular. Here it is sitting with 511 upvotes on Guild Wars 2, so I guess it is popular.
I read this one. I know it's, I read this one.
So, basically, what's he talking about here, Freelancer? What's a magic
He
find
is
leech?
going full magic find gear, and he is not ashamed to say it, and therefore, okay, so magic find gear, you put it on and you do substantially less damage, but you get a ton of magic find, and a lot of people will run in your dungeon group or your fractal group with this gear and not actually say anything about it. Now, granted, in higher fractal levels and stuff, people check for it, but this particular guy, like himself, he was basically coming out there and saying, look, I join groups with magic find gear. And look, man, good for you. Like, because most players will run magic find gear and not admit it. And this is just, somebody that's coming out there and he's saying, look, I'm just telling everybody I run magic find gear. This is how I do it. He makes a very in-depth post. If you read all through it, he tells how he does it and the gear he's using. And, it is what it is. I have a magic find set. I've never used it. I don't think in higher level fractals and such you can really get away with magic find gear because they get so difficult. But, that's pretty much what it's all about. Just summing it up.
Man, there are some very interesting posts here. And there's a lot of tension. Some people are saying this guy's the scum of the earth and he shouldn't be in Guild Wars 2 because it's about community and he's screwing with people.
Yeah, because the magic find guy in your party, you're not going to notice him unless you're really paying attention. And there is no inspect feature or anything, like somebody said in chat there. There's no inspect or anything. He's just going to be the guy that you notice is not doing a lot of damage.
Or maybe not even notice. Sometimes you don't even necessarily, unless you're paying really close attention, you don't necessarily see that. And his point is, the fact that he's using magic find gear maybe means that the entire group as a whole finishes the dungeon maybe 15% slower than they should. So if they're not using magic find gear, they are getting sort of shafted in terms of a gold per minute ratio if you're looking at it from that point of view, whereas he might be finishing at 15% slower, but he gets 60% more loot total, so that more than makes up for it. So in this situation, it's like they get less gold and he gets more as a result, and that's why there's a big controversy over it.
So Bridger, I want your opinion here, okay? Magic find gear, does it have a place in MMOs? Like, do you think that a gear should have a stat that says magic find?
I don't, because I dislike the illusion that that what you're working towards should be based on some random chance. I kind of feel like somebody pointed out that magic find gear is kind of a cool way to do a self-imposed difficulty system, but it's not. it is a way to do that, and that's one way to look at it, but there's way better ways to do a difficulty system. You're like, okay, I want Ascalonian Catacombs Explorable Edition that I've done 60,000 times. Let's play it in hard mode. You get guaranteed better results for drops, and maybe that's a way to get precursors. They get hard mode for dungeons, and the dungeons don't drop precursors unless you do it in hard mode. Now, there's still only a really low chance, but hey,
right.
It's better than nothing, and I'd kind of like that better than a Magic Find system. Magic Find seems to be a poor man's difficulty system, and I don't like the way it's implemented here.
Yeah. Well, pretty much the whole channel said no, and you're getting little cheers there. But I don't know. I always felt like Magic Find was going against the idea that a player should be rewarded for skill, not necessarily for their gear. Like, I've played games in the past. I'm not going to recall any specifically where a good dodge or a really nice combo, would give you better loot. I think those kind of systems are really neat because they encourage you to play in a better way.
So they reward skillful behavior when they can detect it.
And not meaning to bring it up again, but Elder Scrolls, they have a finesse system where if you block right at the right moment, or if you stop a CC right at the right moment, or if you do certain things during combat, you'll be rewarded for that. In Guild Wars 2, how many times have you gotten that perfect dodge off? I think that the dodges in general, since that's what really makes Guild Wars 2 combat what it is, you should be rewarded for those really good dodges. When that ogre lifts his giant club up in the air and he's about to come down, and you dodge right before it hits, I think you should be rewarded for that, not for the piece of armor you're wearing.
So you should be rewarded for being just like that pink orc in The Return of the King, who stands there while the giant trebuchet launches the massive rock, and he stands there, and he stands there, and he stands there, and at the last second he steps out of the way at the Siege of Minas Tirith. That always comes to mind when I think I'm sometimes when I dodge something in Guild Wars 2, I'll feel like I'm that badass, just like that pink orc with the one eye, the commander guy. That all having been said, though, I am going to borrow a phrase, different genre of entertainment, and it goes like this: don't hate the player, hate the game. And that's kind of where I stand on any of these issues. If the game implements a system that encourages you to be a selfish bastard, that's not your fault for taking advantage of that. I don't blame this guy for taking advantage of the system that is in the game. I blame the designers for putting it there in the first place. It's not his fault. The people in this post that are like, you're the scum of the earth, you're the bastard, you should go out and die, etc., etc., they don't get it. They're not looking at the whole picture. It's not his fault. He's doing what he's supposed to do. There was at PAX, there was a panel called, or no, maybe it was Kineticon. There's a panel called Game Design is Mind Control. All right? And it was, let's see if I remember the name correctly. Oh, I can't remember who gave the talk now off the top of my head. But anyway, I'll remember it later. So he talks very briefly about how game design is all about encouraging and discouraging behavior in your players, right? If you, and one of the ways he did that was he said, I have a $5 bill here. The first one to come touch it first gets it. And the audience was kind of like, okay. And then two people started running up to the front, and, he gave somebody the $5 bill. And he's like, I just made somebody do something. I made a game, I gave the rules, and they wanted to win, so they did what I wanted. Blah, ha, 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 ha. Right? Game design is mind control. Game design is controlling your players' behavior. If you don't want people to fall in a pit in Mario, you make it a death situation. If you don't want people to sit there and tank the mob, you make sure that when it hits you really hard so that you want to dodge in order to succeed. And if you don't want people to be selfish bastards, you don't design a system that rewards selfish bastards by giving them more loot than everybody else. I think that's the long and the short of it.
So how does this play into backstab thieves? The ones that go stealth as soon as you go to attack them. Is that bad players or bad game design? Yeah.
Well, and now CrashBot is, Crash BSL says, are you saying that exploits should be legal? That's a very gray, tricky area to cross. In general, if an exploit can be detected and can be enforced in terms of we need to make sure this is not happening, then you shouldn't do it. And if there's a rule that's in place, like if you go to a Counter-Strike server and they have removed the op from the game, that is a change that they've made to the game that is enforceable. If you go to a Counter-Strike server that says don't use, don't camp,
AWPs,
or just don't camp, like, that's not an enforceable thing. First of all, what does camping mean? You have to define it. Then if camping is defined as sitting in the same place for 60 seconds, then what if people sit in the same place for 59 seconds, then move, and then go back and sit in the same place? That's not an enforceable rule. So if an exploit is made in such a way that you can enforce a way around it, a social contract that's very obvious, where you say, okay, you don't do this, we won't do this, we're good, then that seems to me that's one way that you should say you shouldn't do the exploit. If you're talking about exploits like in World versus World with climbing the walls, I think those are such clear violations of the spirit of the game that they just. No, you're just a stupid jerk for doing those.
You're saying that when we finally have private servers in Guild Wars 2 structured PvP, it should be a legitimate thing, from using your philosophy there, that I can create a thing that says thieves cannot use stealth, and that'll balance everything. In my opinion, it'll become super popular, and it'll work like that, right? Because we all know that stealth is aggravating and it ruins the game for everybody. You know what? If you can get a group of people that agree with that point of view and want to play on your server, then to me that's fine. If you can, as long as, but if you have an admin that's watching over it and somebody uses stealth and they warn them and then kick them out, and then you can enforce that. You know what? That's house rule it all you want, as long as it's something that's enforceable and definable. That's very important. But anyway, that's kind of getting away from the topic. I'm just messing.
Like I said, exploit is a very gray area, and theoretically, exploit shouldn't exist long enough for there to be something to worry about. But that's not necessarily always going to be true. So, but again, I don't, in this instance though, there's no such thing as an exploit. This guy to be used. So this is a very cut and dry case. I don't blame this guy at all for what he's trying to do. And it's unfortunate that it's designed this way. And maybe this post got a couple of people at ArenaNet to go, hey, you know what?
This still goes on through even older games, Bridger. I mean, the idea of a Zerg rush in StarCraft, okay? We know what that is, right?
Yes.
That was where one of the races in StarCraft called the Zerg. And this was before, I think they might have created the term Zerg. But anyways, the Zerg players had the ability to create an army much, much faster than the other typical races, the Terran and the Protoss, and they would rush with them. Now, this was really, really popular with Korean players because they were able to use what's called micro, which is their ability to multitask really fast in a very short amount of time, to Zerg rush faster than even the most American players. And for the longest time, this was considered cheap and exploit.
Hang on a second. I have a problem. I Google searched for Zerg rush, and something really weird started happening.
On Google, yeah.
I did not. I don't even. Am I supposed to try and click all the zeros before they take away my search results? What is this? I was gonna search for a funny picture while you were talking, but they're zerging after my results. I need those results. No, they're down here. I didn't see them. What is this nonsense?
So that's one of the famous Google Easter eggs there.
I've never seen this one. I just wanted to search for Google Zerg Rush. I just wanted to go to images.
Somebody says type do a barrel roll.
Oh dear. I didn't even finish
this is the kind of stuff that our
I typed it to a B. And I didn't even type it right. Okay then. Go ahead. You can continue your I'll just go to Google image search.
I mean, that's pretty much it. It's just, this is the kind of stuff, guys, we're going to be highlighting on our new podcast because little fun things that you gamers love, the quirky things, that's what we're going to be focusing on. Anyways, Zerg Rush, considered cheap, considered exploitive, even today, considered by many to be the cheap method or the non-skilled way of getting out. And I just think it's good image there. I just think it's something that players should understand. Did the developers create it intentionally? Yes or no? Magic Find Gear was put in there intentionally. Don't hate the guy for using what the developers put in there. Instead of attacking him or attacking the guy using the Zerg Rush, go to the forums and send your feedback there, because that guy is just playing the game that the game was, in his own way, that the game was designed to be played like. So that's my opinion on the matter.
Yes.
You're still going to have people call him, all sorts of really mean names, but that's the nature of the internet community, I guess.
It is, unfortunately. All right, so last thing here. We got a lot of... we don't have much time. I wanted to try to get this done by 8 o'clock, but let's talk about Wintersday, because we were supposed to talk about it on the last show, but I was unfortunately sick, as mentioned previously. But let's talk about Wintersday. What did you think of it? Did you enjoy any particular aspect of it more than any other?
Wintersday, the Toy Apocalypse was, in that particular event, you had to go into this arena, and there was a bunch of mini missions, and you eventually faced the robot at the end. And
that was the tower defense one, right?
No. This was Toy Apocalypse. This was
the dungeon. Are you talking about
the dungeon?
Oh,
Toy Apocalypse. Yeah.
Gotcha.
That was. I'm just going through the achievements in my mind. So you had the dungeon version that you. It was all right, but it got boring very quickly, which is why players typically didn't do it towards the end.
Yeah.
But you also had the tower defense. I think that was also called Toy Apocalypse.
Yeah.
And that was really neat. Like, I had a ton of fun doing that. How about you, Bridger? Did you build mass catapults in a corner? Like, so every time an enemy popped up, it looked like the 4th of July, and you just launched 100 rocks from nowhere?
I played that a couple of times. It took a really long time. Like, I'm used to tower defense games being faster than that, I guess. I don't know. I expected it to be like a 20-minute thing at most, but it felt like, it said like, 10 waves, and it took about 10 minutes per wave or something. It just felt like it was taking really long time. Maybe we were really bad at it. I don't know. Because I was so sick, I didn't get to do a whole lot of stuff until later on when nobody else was doing anything. So afterwards, I was like, hey, does anybody want to do this? And there's nobody around on TeamSpeak. Everybody's visiting family. I'm like, I'll just go to the pub, guys. We'll beat it, no problem. But that didn't work out. So
there was actually a lot of videos of people taking this like hardcore level, okay, where the idea was to run through a Toy Apocalypse as fast as possible with the best possible build. And what ended up being the best way of doing it was building mass ballista near the entrance and fully upgrading them. And there turned out that if you set a wall sideways between the ballista, it would still stop enemies from getting to the ballista, but it would allow the ballista to fire. So the build that I saw from these guys on YouTube and watching streams was ballista, vertical wall, ballista, vertical wall, like it would look like, a checker pattern. And they would fully upgrade the ballista, and the ballista, I guess, had much higher DPS than the catapults. And it would basically insta-give everything that spawned. It was really, really cool to watch, and they would burn through each of the levels really fast. And the whole game mode was awesome. Now, the snowball fight, did you try that one out?
Yeah, I played the snowball fight.
That was
a
ton of
one.
fun with that, yeah.
I love that. What is that called? The Snowball Mayhem. It was
Yep.
Yeah, it was a single flag, capture the flag mode, where you basically had a single toy, a gift, spawn in the center of the map, and both teams were trying to get it back, but they had the different classes. That was really cool. Like, they had a support class, a really heavy firepower class that would be really slow whenever they were, like, deployed and ready for action. That was really cool. I enjoyed that a lot.
What they didn't expect, though, is that the scout class, and I'm sure everybody figured this out over time, had an ability that shot like 5 or 6 snowballs like in succession right after each other.
That was very powerful.
If you placed yourself right next to an enemy, you could instantly kill them.
Oh, because it did more damage closer or something? Right. Or because they wouldn't dodge any of them.
You don't miss. So the scouts would use their, I think it was the heal skill or something that made them cloak and get right next to the player and then just unload the skill on them. It was so overpowered. And then they also had a sniper shot, which was like a supercharged snowball, that you could fire from.
Like an aim shot for the hunter.
Right. Well, and Warrior has a similar shot. It's like a sniper shot. It does a ton of damage. But with those two skills, there was pretty much no reason not to be a scout. It was a little broken for those that figured it out, but it was a lot of fun regardless. I mean, if they could kind of change the theme or make a permanent version of that, that would be amazing. I'd be in there all the time. And then obviously talking about Wintersday and closing out, we can't forget, and we must show respect to the princess dolls, Bridger. The princess dolls, okay? Always respect the princess dolls. Don't you dare talk crap about the princess dolls, because they will find you, hunt you down,
Their eyes,
and kill you again in your sleep, and
burning
then in your
into my
afterlife,
mind.
they will haunt you and kill you there too. So respect the princess dolls. If you see them, run away. All right, just run away.
Now, one thing I could never get was this dang... Oh, I don't need this. Get out of the way. This damn bell choir thing. I don't know what it was about it. Like, I was trying to get them, like, when they exactly hit the thing, and then it must have been too early, too late. I don't know what it was, but I tried it like 3 times, and I was like, I give up. This is crap. I've never been good at Guitar Hero. I've never been good at things coming at me, and I have to
They didn't
time
explain it well, but I'll tell you what you did wrong. All right.
What's that?
Well, this person's doing it right. This must not be you.
No. Not me.
So what a lot of people were doing wrong is they were waiting for like the symbol to appear like before it gets to the blue circle, and then they would swing, right before it got to the blue circle. And that was actually considered a miss. What you had to do is you were given about a full second after it hit the blue circle to swing.
Oh.
And yeah, you didn't. You probably, nobody ever realized that, and they didn't really explain it well. You had to kind of catch on. But
so it's easier than I thought it was. I thought my timing was poor. I just didn't wait long enough to get the big, giant 1-second interval.
Right. So, I mean, all of you Guitar Hero junkies or Rock Band, junkies out there, that, you press the note right as it hits that line. But in this particular mini game for Guild Wars 2, you had to press it after it hits the line, and that's what threw off a lot of people. So, yeah, it was a pretty neat game. It was hard to go along with some of the songs, but you could pick up some of them, like some of the Guild Wars themes. Mm-hmm. And even now, people are running around with these choir bells and the Unbreakable choir bell, playing like Zelda medleys and stuff. It's pretty awesome. I've come across a few people in Lion's Arch that have drawn entire crowds of players to them because they can perfectly play like the Zelda themes, like from all like Ocarina of Time and stuff. The ones we all relate with. And even then, some of the Final Fantasy VII themes. There's a guy in Isle Janthir that plays it perfect, like. You can just call out the song and he has it down pat. And that's because it turned out when I got talking to him, he has one of his MIDI things hooked up from his guitar to the game, so it'll type out certain keys when he strings little things on his guitar. Like he's got it full set up, And he was actually playing his guitar, but in game it was swinging his choir bell. It was amazing. But yeah, good stuff all around. And I know a couple of you guys are going to ask, so let me just throw it out and sum it up. Economic gains to be had from Wintersday, because we're going to get feedback asking about it. I'll just save you the time. Mm-hmm. If you didn't buy snowflakes before, you probably still have time to buy them now. They will go up indefinitely over time. And I'm not talking like, 1 or 2 months. I'm talking about if you have a horde of like a whole bunch of them now, they're going to be worth a bunch 6-7 months from now. Also, obviously, the Unbreakable bells, those are going to be worth quite a bit, but they're kind of one of those like skins and such where it's going to be the flavor of the month type deal. Mm-hmm. It's going to be that time that when a guild decides, hey, guys, let's form a orchestra, and then they buy a bunch of them out. It's one of those risky things. But I'll tell you what the big money maker is now, all right? And this is hard statistics. let me get the exact name of it for you guys. Superior Rune of Altruism is in I believe the other one was Melandru or something like that.
Speaking of selfish behavior, we're gonna make a ton of money off of people by selling them the Superior Rune of Altruism.
Well, the Superior Rune of Altruism was the one that I had told everybody that came across and asked me in game. Again, you guys can add me in game, just freelancer, and I'll give you little tips. If you're wondering about a particular item, I do that for hundreds of people. The Superior Rune of Altruism, when it went down to like 25 silver, I was telling everybody on the friends list, everybody asking me, buy it, buy it, buy it, buy it. And the reason being is if you look at the Nightmare Rune, or if you look at the rune from Halloween, there was, I think, 1 or 2 of them. It went up to about 2 or 3 gold. And it was a crappy rune. Okay?
It was. It was really bad.
It is really, it still is really bad. I don't know why it's worth so much, but it's really bad. But during Halloween, I was telling everybody, buy that rune for 25 silver, 30 silver, whatever. It was going for around that much. It went up to 3 gold. People that listened to that made a killing. Same thing right now. The altruism rune went down to 25 silver. I'm still telling people, buy as many of it as you can, because it will go up to 2 or 3 gold. And it is far more valuable and useful for a healer and a buffer, let's say a guardian, because of what it does, than the Nightmare Rune is. I believe, let me read real quick here. It gives healing power, 3 stacks of might when you use a heal skill to nearby allies, and it gives fury to nearby allies when you use a heal skill. So this is what happens. If you're a guardian with this rune, and I do see metas coming up with this, where guardians will try equipping this for a World v World, if you use a heal skill as a guardian, you will give fury to everybody around you, you'll give 3 stacks of might to everybody around you, and every boon you give to everybody around you lasts 15% longer with this. It's a really powerful rune if certain guilds use it right, and it's going to skyrocket. I was mentioning it was 25 silver during the Wintersday event. It is now already 70 silver, so you are already making it roughly 3 times as much. If you bought it then, it will go to 1 or 2 gold. So that's my little quick tip for you guys to make a ton of money if you have the money to spare, because it will go up to 1 gold at least, if not 2 gold, if it's any indication from the Halloween room.
All right, so lastly, there is an awesome thread, which I don't know if you saw. I'm going to post it here in the chat for you guys. I've also got it in the show notes. This is a story of player-created content. There was a gift-giving Santa in Lion's Arch. First there was a friendly guy giving away presents, then Santa showed up. So apparently you have here a Norn dressed with a big white beard and the painted, dyed coat, the winter coat that they were selling from the store, and he comes and drives away this other character that was a Sylvari that looked like and was named the Grinch. And he was giving away crappy presents like coal and things like that, and the Santa comes in, and these guys had an entire poem that they went throughout the whole thing. So this said, Akko Claus, this is the guild that put it together, Akko. Greetings all and happy Winter's Day. If you haven't received a present yet, I am near the Mystic Forge. And he's having everybody come over here and he says, Grinch, go back to your cave. Tonight the festivities are about giving and merriment. We don't want you here. And then the next one is, here's a better shot of the Santa. That is pretty damn cool looking like Santa. And then here he goes. They're chasing the Grinch back to his cave. This is the one, I think, behind the waterfall in Lion's Arch. We must throw our spirit in that old Grinch's face. It's time, everybody. Pick up the pace. Fear not, everybody. The Grinch is close. He thinks he's sly. He thinks he's verbose. Like, so he's just putting these, like, verses in the chat as they go, and then they get to the thing, and he says, and then the Grinch says, all of your cheer is just like stale beer. You have no time to make a proper rhyme, and I'll show you what this Grinch is all about. And then the Santa says, if you have tonics, use them, my friends. Here and now, the Grinch's reign ends. And then they had a giant toy, like what do they call that? The costume fight. Everybody jumped into costume and they all beat up the Grinch. And apparently they did that several more times. This is one of the coolest things I've ever seen, and I'm sad that it wasn't. Somebody might have captured it on video. I don't know, but I
hope so.
That is really cool. I wish there were more than just these few sporadic screenshots, because some of those verses are awesome. Oh no, the cave was the pirate cave. That's where they went, and they had the final duel on top of the pirate cave little tower there. So that was pretty awesome.
That is amazing. And what server was that? Do we know?
Let's see. Don't think they mentioned it. The guy
Probably
who actually...
Tarnished Coast, or...
It might have been Tarnished Coast. Jade Quarry. I think it was Jade Quarry.
Oh, wow. Jade Quarry. They're like tier 1. Okay. No wonder they're losing so badly.
There you go.
No, that's awesome, though. I wish more people would do something like that.
Apparently, the guys who actually wound up, who were putting it on, found the thread and came and said, "Oh yeah, we were doing that. That was cool." Somebody throwing around golems at people. That's interesting. All right, so we're going off topic, but yeah, that's pretty awesome, and I have to give huge props to the ACO Guild. I don't even know. They'll be our guild shout out of the week. Look them up. ACO Guild Wars 2. Let's see if we can find their website. The Acolytes. That might be it. Akko, Impaler, Guild Wars 2 Role Players. Role Players?
Yeah, that's probably them.
Either way, that's
whoever
pretty
they
awesome.
are, you guys get a big thumbs up, because that's. I wonder if they actually like scripted that ahead of time, or if they're just naturally, they probably scripted it. They have to.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yes. Jade Quarry is apparently where it was. We will be doing an Akko Santa event for the whole server on December 21st. Like they came in. Ah, there it is. Acolytes Community. So it is Acolytes. There you go. AcolytesCommunity.com is the guys that put that on. So they're our shout out this week for being so awesome and putting that together for people. Apparently they are also getting ready for Elder Scrolls Online. From what I can see on their website here. They have a post that says Elder Scrolls Online, hands-on with the Acolytes. So apparently they're getting another website up for their Elder Scrolls Online community. So there you go. Everybody's...
So if you guys want a really awesome RP community, there you go.
Amongst other things. All right. So I guess that's it for this week. We just about made our 1 hour limit. Just barely, maybe a little bit. But any final thoughts?
I think by the time we have our next Tales of Tyria, we'll be hearing more about this big World v World patch. So
hopefully, yeah.
There'll be a lot to talk about. I'm sure a lot of people have a lot of opinions, and definitely we want to hear from you guys, because a lot of you guys are big into World v World as well, and I think February is the big World v World update. So give your opinion on what's going on in the server and how people are changing and such, because that way we can go on Tales of Tyria and say, this is working, or this was a great idea, or this was a bad idea. And ArenaNet hopefully listens to us, and we can improve Guild Wars 2. Because I don't think anybody wants to give up Guild Wars 2. We just want to see some things fixed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, so with that having been said, it's time to sign off, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Freelancer, for joining me today.
Yes, sir.
2 weeks from now, January 27th is the next Tales of Tyria. We'll be talking about more stuff, hopefully that February patch, and maybe whatever came in January, we'll learn more about that as well. So, for Freelancer, I'm Bridger, signing off. See you guys next week. Feedback at talesoftyria.com is how you can get a hold of us.
See you guys.
All right, that is. All right, thanks for watching the show here, guys. We had 100 people at the end. Wow.
Yeah.
I was worried because we had been gone for so long, but I guess enough people had come to the website to check out what was going on and saw the time and the date. So thank you guys for coming in.
I think it's like Tales of Tyria as a drug, and they were needing their fix.
Yes, must be. Wait a minute, does that mean we can charge them for it?
No, of course not. See, that's what makes it so great. This is free,
damn it.
And we don't get paid a dime.
No, not really.
No, we don't.
All
So
right.
that's all right.
So we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. I'm going to pull all this stuff down so that my wife can have her computer back. This is usually the case on Sunday nights. And if you guys are interested, I've been doing a lot more Let's Plays and things on the Bridger 15 channel. I've been working on, so if you guys are interested in following that, definitely check it out, twitch.tv/Bridger15. I've also been putting some of those up on the YouTube channel as well, so hopefully you guys enjoy watching that stuff. Give me some feedback, what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. If you've got a game that you think should be on there, send some feedback on that too. That would be cool. We're hoping to do a lot more of these streaming events, especially when we get the other sort of general gaming show kicked into high gear, and we've got some plans for the TL website and for this group of shows that we're putting together, and hopefully we can get some more community events and things where you can join us. I've got an idea for a show called Flavor of the Month, where we'll spend an hour or two playing a game and streaming it and talking about our experiences and sort of doing like a review, a Let's Play review as a group as we're all playing a game. And you guys can play with us too, depending upon if it's like a multiplayer game. In the hoppers like Hawkin and MechWarrior Online, those are both free, easy. Tons of people can jump in and play them, you know. So
Well, this is after show, so I'll go ahead and say it. You know, we more recently have seen a ton of you guys come onto our TeamSpeak, the TL TeamSpeak, not to join TL or anything like that, but just to hang out and play all these new games, which is awesome. I know there is Rome Total War coming out. We're going to make a big deal about that when it comes out.
Can't wait.
So if that's something that you want to be excited about and join a channel with a bunch of other excited people, definitely pop on in, show your guild tags, you know, and we can get to know each other, have a good time. That's what it's all about. And with this flavor of the month idea, which is a great idea from Bridger, we're going to be basically choosing a game, live streaming it, myself and Bridger at the same time, and having you guys pop into our channels or even pop into the game with us if applicable, and just have a blast. And we find that we get a lot more viewers, and you guys enjoy it a lot more when we're all just talking and it's not just ourselves, you know, and there's more people involved. So I'm excited about that. I know Bridger's excited. Big question is, what's going to be our first game, Bridger?
Oh, I don't know.
Is it going to be Rome or is it going to be Call of Duty?
Wait.
I don't know.
What? No.
No, not
There's
Call
no
of Duty.
COD
Company
What?
of Heroes.
COD blops? No, I don't think so.
Tetris. There you go.
Tetris.
No, Call of Duty. Listen to me. No, I'm thinking Company of Heroes 2 or Rome Total War 2.
Well, there's a lot of interesting games on the horizon. Rome isn't due for quite a while, though, is it?
It's a few months. But then again, Elder Scrolls has their open beta in a couple months also. That might be something we could do for everybody, give our honest opinions of that. I don't know. We'll see.
Let's see.
But,
some things are saying October 2013 for Rome 2. Oh, so
oh,
far.
Why is it so far away?
Yeah, we'll probably wind up doing something else. I'd like to stick to those free-to-play games so that we can get a bunch of people together and make it easy for, to have everybody join us and stuff.
We got a winner here. We got a winner. Sim City coming out in February.
Oh, that'll be interesting. Yeah, we'll have to jump on some of the new ones.
Here's the deal, Bridger. We'll both create a city next to each other. You'll take all my pollution and stuff and my waste, and I'll build all the fancy stuff, okay? Sounds good, right?
Okay, but when I get a race of mutants that are Homo superior due to their mutations from the pollution, and they come and conquer your city and live in all the great luxury, then that'll be good too. We'll see. All right, so yeah, that's all in the works. You'll see more for that. We'll talk about that more in the future on Tales of Tyria and on the Bridger 15 channel and on TeamLegacy.net and on sound-strategy.net. We'll everywhere. We'll talk more about that. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Signing off. We might be doing some more. I think I'm going to stream some League of Legends later tonight with the wife because she really, really wanted to play when she got home, and I was like, oh, but I'm done playing. I got to get ready for the show. And she's like, damn it. So I'm gonna go and play some League and probably stream it a little bit with her, and we'll see if there's any other TL people that want to play. I gotta try out Ari. I just bought Ari, and now I want to play. All right, signing off. Have a good one, guys.
Have a good one, everybody.
If I can find the turn off button, where is it?